Hello everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen, and this is my first month wrap-up on BookTube. This first month on BookTube has been so fun. This is my 6th video. I of course started with the BookTube newbie tag, which was very fun. So glad to introduce my channel, and it's been a real learning experience so far. And I did the New Year's tag and the 10-year tag. And then of course I did my whole bookshelf tour, which was such a process, so long to do all these shelves, and there was so much technical issues, which was a real struggle, and it was all very time consuming, much more than I thought it would be, but it was still so fun. It was so fun to get to talk about every single one of my books. I loved it very much. And then of course after that I did my TBR tour, which some of these books on my first month wrap-up appeared on. And then of course I did my book haul for Christmas, which some of these books also appeared on. And so it's just all been so fun, but let's get into what we're really here for, which is which books I have read this month, the first month of 2020. First, I finished off the last little bit of the final Game of Thrones book. I'm mostly going to talk about the whole series here more so than this last book itself. I just had a little bit left to go at the beginning of January. I had so wanted to finish it in 2019, but oh well, now I get to talk about it in my wrap-up. So I started reading this series last year, and I also started the show, and I started the show a little bit before the books, so I made sure to always stay ahead in the show, and part of that was just because I enjoy the show more. It's a little bit more fast-paced. These books are very long and very slow, but I am definitely still glad that I read them, and I'm glad that I read and watched together. I feel like I picked up on so much more information that way. My boyfriend has already watched the show when it first came out, and so I would say things that he would say, I didn't notice that, or I didn't know that, and it's not even necessarily stuff that the show cut. It's just, it's really helpful to have them both to be able to catch everything. I would say I definitely do enjoy the show better. As I said, it's a lot more fast-paced. I don't know that I'll ever reread these books because they are so long and so slow, but I did still enjoy them. I really do love to see the differences between two things when something is adapted, so that's always really fun for me. The show sticks really close to the books, especially in the early books. I would say it doesn't really start to branch off until maybe like season 3. And I have actually not quite finished the show yet. I've watched up through season 7. I am planning to watch season 8, but I'm just not in such a rush based on what I've heard about it. And so yeah, a solid read. I definitely, if you have not seen or read them, I definitely recommend reading and watching the show and the books together. Next, I read Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. This is actually the first book that I had started after starting my channel and read all the way through, being a booktuber. And so I did kind of find myself, especially at the beginning, getting almost kind of distracted, and it kind of detracted a little bit from the book with the way I was thinking about, like, am I liking this? Should I be liking this? What am I gonna say about it when I talk about it on my channel? So I really tried to stop doing that, and I think I got better as the book went on. But I did enjoy this book. I have been wanting to read it for years, partly because it has such a beautiful cover. I love the colors, and the little heart symbol is so cute, and I mean, who doesn't love Paris? But just before starting the book, I had like kind of some mixed reviews coming in from people that I knew, and so I was going into it with a little bit of trepidation, but I actually really enjoyed it. It is of course very fluffy and a little bit teenagery. I mean, it's a girl going to Paris for her last year of high school, for boarding school, so it definitely has the fluff, but I was really surprised to find that a lot of the characters and their relationships felt very real and grounded. So it's about this girl named Anna who's being sent to boarding school in Paris for her senior year of high school, and she's really upset about it. She does not want to go. The first chapter is actually a bit whiny. It's a little bit annoying. Part of that was like, who doesn't want to go to Paris? Although I do understand, like, she's being taken away from her friends, and she has this crush who's maybe like just turning into a relationship right before she goes, so if she feels like that's being ruined. And then also there's she just kind of has a strained relationship with her dad. Her parents are divorced, and her dad for a long time was a struggling writer, and he starts writing these very sappy romance novels that get turned into movies, and he gets super famous. And so she doesn't like that, and then she also feels like he's only sending her to this boarding school to impress his new rich friends. So she's very upset at the beginning of the book, and so it's kind of about her, you know, transitioning into Paris and making new friends, and the struggle of having this long distance kind of relationship, but then also she's, of course, falling for a boy in Paris. And the relationships just felt really real to me. It felt like the way that young people, that myself, anyone I knew at that in like high school, acted with relationships. Like, there's this boy that she, you know, had never noticed before, but then he asks her out and she goes, oh, maybe I do like him. And that feels pretty realistic. I feel like when you're younger and these things are new and super exciting, you do kind of have this thing of like, you get asked out and you're like, oh, so excited about it that you don't even consider whether or not you actually like the person. And so that felt super real to me. And then there's like this very serious stuff with the boy that she likes in Paris also has a strained relationship with his dad, and that's kind of what they connect over. And it was really surprisingly a slow burn relationship. It definitely wasn't insta-love, which was nice. I was kind of expecting insta-love, but the book really takes the time to build up the relationship, and so that was really nice. This was definitely a solid read. It was fun and enjoyable without being too fluffy. Next, I read The Two Lila Bennets by Liz Fenton and Lisa Steinke. I still don't know how to pronounce this name. I pronounced it wrong in my TBR tour as well, I think. But I got this from the Scribbler subscription box for writers. I did a 3-month subscription, and this was the book that came with the first box. It is a mystery about, the main character is named Lila Bennett, of course, and she's a lawyer, and she is cheating on her husband. And so the book kind of is about, it is told in alternating chapters, and she makes this decision at the beginning of the book about that relationship that she is having outside of her marriage. And so the book splits off into the separate chapters where she makes one decision in one set of chapters, and she makes a different decision in another set of chapters. And in one set, she is kidnapped, and in the other set, she is not. And so it's kind of a mystery of like who kidnapped her and why. And then it's also just exploring like the two very different paths her life took based on this decision that she made early in the book. It is apparently inspired by a movie called Sliding Doors. I have heard that is perhaps a little bit too inspired by that movie. I cannot speak to that because I have not seen the movie. But after reading this, I'm very interested in seeing the movie because I did enjoy this. It was a good mystery. I thought I knew the whole way through who the bad guy was going to be, but I ended up being very surprised at the end, so that's always good, even though you always kind of go, shucks, I should have known. It's still better to be surprised. I didn't really love the ending. I liked the reveal, definitely, because it was a surprise, so I liked that part. It was just like the very, very end that was just sort of dissatisfying for me, I would say. And then my only other kind of, I guess, complaint for this book was some of the dialogue felt a little bit forced and stilted, especially between her and her best friend. It just felt a little surface level and yeah, just kind of forced. But other than that, it was a solid read. I think I gave it 3 stars, so definitely I'll be keeping it to probably read it again someday. A good read. Next, I read Hamilton, the Revolution by Lin-Manuel Miranda and Jeremy McCarter. I actually talked about this book quite a bit in my book haul video. I got this for Christmas from my boyfriend, and I loved it so much. I love the Hamilton soundtrack. This book is about them getting the show onto Broadway. It has the entire script in there with notes from Lin, but then just also talks a lot about behind the scenes stuff. So that was super fun. If you're a fan of Hamilton, this is a great read. And yeah, so if you want to hear even more about it, I will definitely link my book haul video down below where I talk a lot about this one. Next, I read Amazing, Fantastic, Incredible by Stan Lee. This is his memoir. It is told in comic book form, so that is really cool and really fun. With that format though, it was a little bit surface level, not like super deep detail. A lot of the stuff I did know from his documentary With Great Power, the Stan Lee story, I think it was called. That was a really great documentary. I enjoyed it a lot, and so this was a really great companion to that. And it was just a really fun read. It felt very much like Stan just kind of sat down and told someone his life story, just free thought, and someone made it into a comic. It felt very conversational. He breaks the fourth wall a lot. He of course talks about his cameos of the Marvel movies, which I love, so that was super fun. And yeah, a really fun read if you're interested in Marvel and Stan. And the final book that I read this month was The Thousandth Floor, the first book in the series. This is a series of 3. I read this last year, so this is a reread, but I'm now going to be reading the whole series straight through because I have not read the last 2 books. So I'm super excited to see how the series pans out. I've really enjoyed the first one quite a bit. It kind of reminds me of Uglies, although it's not quite as dystopian as that. It is about this 1,000-floor tower in New York. So basically it is a city unto itself, and it has excavated all the old New York landmarks and put it into the tower. It sits where Central Park used to be, and they have like a new Central Park on one of the floors, and they like excavated Grand Central Station and moved it onto into the tower. And so it follows these 5 teenagers in the tower. Some of the characters live on the lower floors where the more poor population lives, and then it goes all the way up to one of the characters lives on the 1,000th floor penthouse, and she is a kind of designer baby, genetically made to be very beautiful. And so it's just sort of their complicated interactions and much romance and much drama. And I originally honestly picked it up because it has the most beautiful cover ever. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to read the next 2 next month and get to talk about the entire series as a whole and see how it pans out. So yeah, these were all my reads for January. Let me know in the comments below what you read this month and what you thought of everything that you read. And definitely make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications. Thanks for watching!